session against Ghana at Boston Stadium. 0-0 it finished. It was a rainy, dreary day. Football wasn't much better. Not too clever, say one of the headlines, with a nod to Thomas Tuchel there. Yawn in the USA. It's the Boston Stranglers and blank of England. England frustrated in the bottom corner there, and that is definitely one way to describe what we saw from them in this game against Ghana, where they just took a point from it. Wasn't a great watch, was it, Don?
No, I've got to say, before we get on to England, I thought Ghana were amazing. I thought skillful players, but I thought their fitness and their energy, I thought at times, I was watching it just thinking, how do you try and play through that? Then you go to England and you think they're a bit one-dimensional, especially in wide areas. I think Madueke's got skills where he can go inside on the left or outside, but Anthony Gordon's struggling. He's very, direct, one-dimensional, very vertical, very straight. I looked at the team lineup from Thomas Tuchel and I thought, you're playing a back four when you've got loads of possession. You've got two number sixes, which you didn't need. You could have dropped or rested Anderson and played Morgan Rogers, or you could have dropped Bellingham and played Ollie Watkins and played two up front. I just looked at it, I thought there was no real blame on the players. They didn't solve too many problems, but if there was any blame coming towards someone, I thought it was Thomas Tuchel. I thought he could have anticipated what Ghana were going to do. Stay in a low block, everyone behind the ball. So why not have another centre-forward on the pitch, or why not have Morgan Rogers, a number 10 on the pitch that can take players on? And the fullbacks didn't do too much neither, which I then look at Lewis Hall, who hasn't been taken at all, and I think it's incredible that Thomas Tuchel doesn't think him and Alexander-Arnold are in the best 26 England players.
Did he drop the ball here with his line-up?
I'm not so sure about the line-up. It's as a coach, after 5 or 6 minutes, he must have realised that Ghana were going to sit deep, and he should have reorganised the side. And I was talking to Dan Thomas at half-time. It's sometimes wasting your time talking to Dan Thomas at half-time. He doesn't quite understand. But I was saying that O'Reilly would have been the perfect player to play at left-back and play Gordon wider. And every time the ball was on the far side, O'Reilly makes those runs.
That's a penalty, by the way.
Makes those runs from the left-back position through the inside left, and he'd been ideal, as he did when he came on and got the header against the crossbar.
Did Ezri Konsa then get away with the penalty that should have been given?
Okay, 1,000,000%. I mean, I didn't see it in game, but there was a photo of Jude Bellingham covering his mouth this morning, which Almiron got sent off for, which is the new directive. So he's lucky. I didn't see it in real time. I seen the picture this morning, but the Konsa tackle, dearie me, it's 100% a penalty. So England got away with it big time.
I think that's the case.
I thought it was a penalty, yeah. The Konsa actually catches him around about the thigh area because he jumps into the challenge and he tries to get his right foot across to get the ball, but he takes the player out. So, yeah, it should have been a penalty. England got away with it.
What did they learn from it, Don?
That's a good question. I think they'll learn that they have to be better. I think they're going to have to learn how to solve problems when teams come against England. Panama will do exactly the same. So they've got to be sharper. They've got to move the ball quickly. They've got to be more inventive. You can't just say to Harry Kane, right, everything relies on you. You're going to have to finish the chances off, which normally he does. But you're going to need goals from elsewhere. You're going to need more creativity. So it might be a time for Morgan Rogers to play or Ollie Watkins. Fullbacks are a thing. I think O'Reilly, I agree. I disagree with Stu in a way where you think 5 minutes in, you see what Ghana are going to do. I think you've got to know that before you kick off in your selection. Because you know Ghana are going to play deep. So why would you leave it 5, 10, 15 minutes, half an hour to go, oh, that's what they're doing? But you're supposed to know this.
But you don't necessarily know what Ghana are going to do.
Ghana and Panama are not going to go attack
front.
They're not going to attack England.
But anyway.
That's how I would see it. I would say if there's anyone to blame on what I watched last night, I thought it was Thomas Tuchel.
Yeah, there was a difference in the two halves like we saw in the first game, but not the inspired half-time team talk, it would seem, in the after the first half of this game. You can see the stats and how they do differ. England did try to get something in the second 45 minutes, but it wouldn't come. It was a very difficult day for them, and they could not find a way past Ghana. Here's Stuart to explain more on how that happened.
Right from the start of the game, it was obvious that Ghana were going to make it difficult for England. They were going to be compact, they were going to stay deep, and England didn't adjust. They should have adjusted much quicker. So should the manager, Thomas Tuchel. Instead of Harry Kane coming towards the ball and congesting things even further, he should have been making runs into these sort of areas here, threatening the back and threatening the side of the defenders. The same with Jude Bellingham. He was going back into congested areas, into midfield, instead of playing further forward and causing problems with his runs. Now, that would have allowed the likes of Anderson to play further up the field. He could have played in that sort of area. The same with Declan Rice. Instead, they were coming back to the ball, getting it off the centre half. So there was 5 versus 1 in that area, which meant England were outnumbered by the Ghana defender post in the top third of the field. I was also surprised to see that Gordon played infield. He's a right-footed player, I understand that, but he needed to give more width and come wide out on this left-hand side, and Jed Spence could have supported him from a slightly deeper position, but it was the other way round. But it also comes down to the players on the ball at the back. At some point, you've got to look forward. You can't be too safe. They were playing balls into Anderson, they were playing balls into Rice, getting it back again. They needed to pass it forward more. Reece James could have played further up the field into those sort of areas and caused Ghana problems. Over the course of the game, England didn't do enough. They weren't positive with their balls, they weren't positive with their runs, and the manager and the players should have done something about it much earlier on.
Thank you, Stuart. Yes, so let's take a look at how that makes the group look after that point for both England and Ghana. They sit first and second on 4 points. It's goal difference that's separating them right now. And of course, there will be those last round of games, Croatia taking on Ghana and Panama against England. So based on what we've seen, because it's 2 different stories in the first 2 games for England, Don, where do you rank them right now? What's the ceiling in this World Cup for them?
Oh, the ceiling is to win it. I think that has to be their ambition. You wouldn't go into a World Cup thinking, oh, we're going to be outside of a bracket of 1 or 2. I think if you're England, you've got to be...
Can they win it?
Of course they can. They can. Whether they will or won't, I don't think they will, but they can. I think their attitude has to be, we are going to win this competition, but they need to improve. I thought it was brilliant analysis from Stu on the problems that Thomas Tuchel and the team had. And I looked at Jed Spence thinking, why are you playing a right-footed player at left-back? Because when he goes forward, he's naturally then going to come inside on his right foot. So it might be O'Reilly that starts the next game, but they've got to have the ambition they can win the tournament, surely.
Yes, they can play a lot better than they did in this game. And it all came down to the philosophy. You know, we've seen Spain start the tournament and pass it and keep the ball when the opposition dropped too deep against Cabo Verde, and they draw the game. The second game, they play, OK, we've got to play at much quicker pace. Yes, they had Yamal playing for them on that occasion, but the ball was played forward. There was more forward runs. We saw Portugal in the first game with all their players, all their technical players, keeping the ball in midfield, playing around the back, not getting it forward quite quickly enough. The opposition then squeeze up to stop Ronaldo running in behind. All the good performances in this tournament have been teams that are dynamic at the start of games, that play the ball forward, that run forward, that aren't afraid of giving the ball away, but trying to play the most advantageous ball they possibly can. England have to do that. In this game, they didn't do it. They did it in the second half of the first game against Croatia, and they did it in the last 10 minutes. Why wait until the last 10 minutes to show urgency? Do it right from the start of the game.
I'll tell you what the papers are screaming out for back home, reading the papers. Is you watch Elliot Anderson, you watch Declan Rice, amazing players. They're screaming out, why wasn't Adam Wharton taken? Because he's a player that can play through the lines. He's a player that can pass the ball forward. So you look energy-wise and you look at it on paper and you think Anderson and Rice, fantastic partnership. But up against the teams that Stu just mentioned, where they're going to keep the ball, in this heat, those two have got to chase the balls down and close everyone down and be effective in their running and the closing down. That's hard work. So the better teams like the Spain and the France and 1 or 2 others, Portugal maybe might come into their bracket if they can sort of convince everyone they can do it, because they've got technicians in midfield who can keep the ball away from anyone. England have to be better on the ball. They have to be patient and they have to be better, and they have to get chances to wide players, front men.
So Don's just used the word that I really do hate in football at the moment.